Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special edition of the Totally Awesome Podcast that's so bad, it might just make you tap out. My name is JoshAgeddon, and joining me is a very special guest, my very lovely mother, Mom.
Hi!
Just for the record, what is your name?
Mom. Oh, my real literal name, Christy.
Christine Campbell. The yes. Pristine Christine.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
I can't believe I just pulled that out of my
head.
Anus.
Head.
How are you today, Mother?
I'm doing good. I enjoyed going out with you. We just went and had dinner.
Yes. This is a week removed from Mother's Day.
Yes.
And this past Mother's Day, I was at an Airbnb with Andy, which is a video on the channel. You guys can go watch. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and all that stuff. So, oh, now my phone's going off. We're Sean. We're podcasting. I'm talking to my mommy.
That's right. Leave us alone.
So, I was in Columbia. Mom was at work, right?
No, Mother's Day is on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. You were
at
Grammy's.
My mom's.
She was at her mom's in North Carolina, so we weren't together.
Correct.
So today, Monday, I have off from work. She got off from work, and we went to Applebee's. It was a late Mother's Day present.
And it was very sweet. Thank you.
Cost me $60.
Wow.
It's okay. I took a bunch of money to the bank, and I have
I told you not to tip that waitress.
As much. I gave her $10. It was.
That's a pretty good tip.
Yeah, as someone who relies on tips as a source of income, yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Well, the better server you are, the better tip you get. Because when me and Andy went to Applebee's, that waitress is glad that her tip wasn't some words from my mouth about how to be a waitress.
Wow. You were not a fan, I take it.
No.
What was this one better?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone would have been better.
So, how has your day been, Mom?
We don't have enough time in this But it's been all right.
There's been some work-related issues that
we won't go into
because
I'm not allowed to.
My mom works at a bank, and her clientele is confidential.
Private.
Yeah, so it's been a frustrating experience, to say the least.
Yes, it definitely has its moments, that's for sure.
So, this is not your first time on my YouTube channel.
No.
It's normally like, it's either you calling and interrupting me.
Which I'm very good at, by the way.
You are. I'm surprised you aren't doing it now as we speak. But don't actually do it as you speak.
I literally just picked up my phone.
So, it's either that or I've had you on to play a various assortment of video games.
Which I do very well.
Surprisingly.
Actually, no, really, I suck. But I just didn't want to say that. So.
But I've had the last...
It's hilarious, though.
The last time, I think it was when me, you, Alex, and Andy played Sonic Heroes.
I believe so.
I've also had you play a level from each Devil May Cry game.
And Tomb Raider.
Yeah. That was a long time. That was like several years ago. Before,
am I that old?
Me too. I'll be 30 in a couple of years. And that was before I, actually put effort into editing my videos. It's during that era of my YouTube career that I sucked. You always suck when you start out. You just have to learn. Like, the difference in quality between the videos I make now and the videos I made when I started. It is physically painful for me to watch.
It usually is.
Watching some of the videos that I used to make.
Just to make you want to cringe?
It makes me want to die.
And then cringe again?
Yes, it's enough to make your soul cringe after it's already left your body. Mm-hmm. So, you've seen me... Because I've lived with you. I've known you for how long now? My entire life?
Yes.
So...
Since I birthed you, yes.
So, you've seen me start doing YouTube. And you've seen my...
Progression.
Yeah, I was going to say my maturation process.
You don't... Never mind.
So
we won't go into maturity. So.
So, how would you describe like having given birth to a YouTuber? Given that I've been doing it for like 10 years now.
I don't know that I have. You really put a lot into it. I'll give you that.
I appreciate it.
Definitely something you spend a lot of time and effort and work.
Now I will
have
say.
A passion for.
Now I will say that like it's not like the only thing I do, because when I was
you also sleep and poop.
Yeah, and spend time with Andy.
Well, yeah, and spend time with Andy.
I hope Andy listens to this. Andy, if you're watching this,
hey Andy,
we love you.
Love you.
Other viewers,
love you too.
Have fun. Have fun cringing. But I will say that I started this YouTube channel when I was in high school. I never let it interfere with my schoolwork.
Oh, no, because I would have hurt you.
Yeah, you would have killed me.
Yeah.
I also don't let it interfere with my job
or
trying to find jobs or anything like that. Like, I try to do a good balance of, hey, I have this free time, I will dedicate it to my YouTube channel. I have this free time, I will dedicate it to doing absolutely nothing. I have this free time, I will dedicate it to doing stuff that I need to do. So, would you say that you are proud of me, Mother?
I'm always proud of you. You have lots of smarticles. Common sense is another completely different area. But, yes, you have a very high IQ, and you're very articulate, very well spoken. I'm very proud of you. Very smart, cute, hilarious, funny, weird.
This has turned into
all balled up into one.
This has turned into quite the puff piece, Mother. I'm glad.
You want me to deflate you?
A little bit. Go ahead. What are some of your criticisms of me as a human being?
Again, we don't have enough.
All right, I have a different question.
One thing is you have to tell everything. You've always been that way. You don't have a concept of where the line is that you should and shouldn't say. Also, you do not understand the concept of personal space or modesty.
Way to make me sound like some sort of deviant.
Perv. No, he's not. Just kidding.
No.
But I mean, I do worry about you sometimes. I mean, you can be master of the universe, but sometimes you don't know to get in and out of the rain. So, it's...
When you said master of, I was thinking, I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a master of disguise. That movie is
Turtle. No.
Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club? That movie.
I've never seen it, and I don't care to.
That movie is horrible.
I believe it.
But I love it. It is so bad it's funny.
You have an act for that.
There are some movies that are bad, and I'm just like, that sucks. Why would anyone watch this? There are some movies that are so hilariously awful. It's quality entertainment. The Masters of Disguise is one of them.
Disagree. You're entitled to be wrong. It's okay.
Okay. Where are you from, Mother? Tell me a little bit about
Planet Earth.
Tell me about your origin.
My mother's womb. I don't remember much about it.
You don't remember the sights and sounds?
No.
Somewhere Grammy's like, why am I cringing right now?
And I don't remember going from in the womb to out of the womb. That's a blur. I really don't remember much until like elementary school.
Okay, let's start there.
Okay, I lived in North Carolina. So where Grammy lives now in Union County is where I grew up.
Okay. Can you elaborate further? I was literally thinking the same thing.
I went to elementary school at Wesley Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
Where Grammy lives now was nothing now like it was when I grew up. There was nothing but cows and fields and stuff when I grew up, and now the city has practically moved to Grammy. But I went to elementary, middle, and high school there. I lived there till I got married.
Would you say there's a significant increase or uptick as far as roundabouts are concerned?
I don't like roundabouts.
There's like 100 of them.
when I was on the phone with you last week, and me and Grammy and Doug were going to Cracker Barrel, they have completely redone where Grammy lives, and there was a double roundabout with 2 lanes, and I didn't know if I was coming or going. I got honked out, and we probably went around the roundabout at least twice before we got off of it.
They have added an obscene amount of roundabouts. Like they love roundabouts as much as I love Dragon Ball Z.
Well, it's like somebody took the county of Union and shook it and then put it back down and said, "Now you figure it out." I mean, I literally. Well, you heard what I said when we were on the phone, which we shall not repeat on this podcast. Not that it was bad.
It was pretty funny. Like, have you ever?
Well, I literally didn't know.
Have you ever been on the phone with your mom, grandma, and uncle, and all 3 of them are like, "Oh God,"
are yelling because we don't know how to get off of the roundabout?
That was a hilarious phone call. And I even ended it by saying, "Mom, you sound stressed. I'm gonna go."
Yeah, because we were going around and around and around the roundabout.
That's
with
hilarious.
People blowing the horn at me, and I didn't know which way the road went.
Do you remember when we were leaving from Dune Part 2, when we went around a roundabout, and
when we ran around a roundabout?
Yeah, it made my tongue almost do a roundabout.
Went around a roundabout.
And there was a way we were supposed to get home that Mom was anticipating we were going down.
Yes, and so I wasn't paying attention. And you got off on the second exit when it was supposed to be the third, and we ended up going through Lancaster. And by the time I was like,
"Where are we?
Why are there all these lights coming from?" And I was like, "Joshua."
Fortunately, I knew where we were.
I was like, "Why are we in Lancaster?"
And I was like, "I turned wrong. Apologies, dear mother," but I knew where we were. It wasn't like we were lost. Like, I had taken that route accidentally before with Andy.
Well, I should have known something was wrong when I heard your brother say, "You can turn down that road to go to where me and Maddie live," and I thought,
well, that is peculiar.
But I thought, okay, well. So I continued to not pay attention till I started seeing all the lights, and I'm going, okay, this is not the way home. It is a way home, but not,
not our planned route.
No.
It was a fun little detour.
Sure.
That ended up in the same destination, so at least it was away.
It was only 20 minutes out of the way.
So we talked about what I mentioned that we saw Dune Part 2 earlier. I actually have a podcast up where I discussed my thoughts in detail. It's an hour long.
Please, for the love of God, don't ask me about Dune Part 2.
Mom, give me your thoughts of Dune Part 2.
I can't. It's so much.
It is very complex.
It is extremely complicated and in-depth. And half the time we were watching the movie, I looked at Joshua and I said, "What just happened?"
And I had to break it.
So he would have to explain it to me in dumb terms.
I had to break it down
so
for her.
that I could understand it.
I had to break it down to her mid-movie while other confusing things were happening.
But watching Dune Part 2 helps you understand Dune Part 1.
Yeah. And actually, I talked to Mom and Sean about this, and I said, these movies have made me want to read the books. And I am not an avid reader.
Absolutely not.
Sean said, that coming from you is probably the best compliment you could give those movies.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to read the book.
There's apparently like 40-ish.
40-ish.
I'm only interested in the first 6 because that's the one. Those are the ones that Frank Herbert wrote before he passed away. I'm stopping with Chapter House. That's the 6th one.
Mm-hmm.
But
it smells so good in here.
Thank you. I try.
Okay, it wasn't you.
But anyway,
Bath and Body. Woo!
Another confusing movie / show that we watched was Attack on Titan. What did you think of Attack on? And I'm actually very proud of you because I've tried to watch anime with you before. Like, we tried to watch Death Note. You weren't having any of it.
I just couldn't get into that.
We started watching Dragon Ball Z,
But now, in my defense, I've seen bits and pieces of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT for years.
Yeah.
Ever since you and your brother were little.
But we tried to start watching it, and it's not like that you didn't want to stop. It's just that we both just kind of stopped because, we have lives.
Well, also, the fact that I was watching something with you, mm-hmm. you had to reciprocate and be watching something with me, mm-hmm. and there just wasn't enough time.
Yeah. So we just kind of
to do
stopped.
that, so we just kind of stopped.
But
plus, most of Dragon Ball Z is yelling, powering up.
Not necessarily, but that is. Stop. All right. Okay. That is a solid criticism, even though I don't find it to be 100% valid. That is a decent critique of the show, though. I love it personally, but I can understand those who don't.
And I love the one that that you were supposed to be watching with me.
Yeah, it was The Walking Dead. I personally find zombies to be insufferably boring. It is such a tired concept, in my opinion. But Mom loves that show. She is as obsessed with it as I am with Dragon Ball Z. But we actually watched all of Attack on Titan from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly surprised that we accomplished that. With all that framework out of the way, what did you think of Attack on Titan?
The concept... it was the weirdest looking things I've ever
the
seen
Titans.
In my whole freaking life.
Yeah.
And they smile and eat people.
And run weirdly.
And, oh my God. And, I mean, I don't know where the concept came from.
But...
Who thinks of these things?
Hajime
but
Isayama.
They either got to be on something or they need to be.
Isayama's got some problems. I'll say that. But... the concept kind of catches you off guard because the longer the show goes on, the more intricate and complex it gets, especially the final season. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yes.
And it's kind of similar to Dune, with the vast complexity that it tackles. It's honestly why I liked both. Honestly, Attack on Titan is why I started watching Dune, because... I heard that the movie was coming out, and I saw it in the first one in theaters with my brother when it first came out, but I didn't know anything about it. Me and Alex were like, oh, this is this really weird space movie. Let's go watch it. Oh, wow, that was a very weird space movie. It was good, but it was weird. But then I read something on the internet somewhere about how Paul Atreides, the protagonist of Dune, has a lot of similarities with Eren Yeager, the protagonist of Attack on Titan. So I was like, oh... Does he have a heel turn, which is wrestling terminology for turning into a bad guy? And he did. And I was like, oh, I gotta watch this now. Because if there's one trope that I'm into, it is a protagonist that turns evil.
Well, it's funny that you use that word, because when we went to see Planet of the Apes, mm-hmm. we were actually talking about protagonist, antagonist, mm-hmm. and neutral characters. Mm-hmm. So it was funny that you mentioned that. And no, I didn't go with Joshua. I went with my sweetheart and our other kids. And
you weren't overly fond of the movie, because we talked about it briefly in the car while we were going to Applebee's.
I understand that the point is supposed to be that the apes are superior in this particular movie and not humans, but I think that they went too far, and I think that the creators of the movie were actually trying to make it look as though apes are an intelligent species and people are literally incapable and incompetent and stupid and evil. I just thought that they pushed it a little bit too much.
The concept was fine. The execution you did not like.
I felt like it was bordering on offensive.
Bordering on being insulting?
Yes. Not necessarily offensive, but yeah, insulting. I really did.
I can see that. There are several movie critics that I listen to, and all of them have had basically the same, it's alright. Which has...
I mean, it wasn't a badly made movie.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've just heard that it's not particularly interesting from a bunch of critics.
Not really. I mean, there is a storyline, but I mean, I'm never going to get used to apes riding horses and apes having conversations during the entire movie, because in the other movie you really only had one ape that learned to speak, mm-hmm. and all the others were more ape-like, where in this movie the apes took on the characteristics of people and people took on the characteristics of apes.
I have zero interest in seeing this movie, but it's not because of what the critics have said, what you have said. It's more what you have said and what the critics have said have done nothing but reinforce my lack of desire to see the movie.
Like you said earlier, you don't want to start in the middle of something.
Yeah.
But you're not really intrigued by it enough to start at the beginning.
I haven't seen any Planet of the Apes movies. Because there were older like.
I have not seen the older versions of.
I haven't either.
Planet of the Apes, so I really couldn't tell you anything about those.
The most I know about the older ones is that one line where it's like, "You damn dirty ape," or stuff, whatever the.
Watch an app.
I was quoting. But I also have not seen the new iteration of the franchise that started with the one that James Franco starred in.
I mean, we can watch that and you can see what you think. Not necessarily right now, but I mean...
It's just like you said, I don't want to start with the fourth one. At least I think it's the fourth one.
I don't know. I wouldn't go beyond that one.
I know there's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I think that's the one that has James Franco. And I know there's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think there's a third something or other of the Planet of the Apes. And then there's this one. But yeah, I'm not really all that interested.
The only two that I've seen is this one and the one with James Franco.
And you liked that one, didn't you? Or you were like, it's fine? You probably only saw it
pretty
once.
good, but I mean, of course it's far-fetched, but I mean, some things are just... I don't know.
Zombies, yes. Talking monkeys, no.
Right! Right? Zombie apocalypse, yes.
Totally not a tired
But
concept.
talking ape, no.
Alright, so switching gears a teeny bit, but still talking about movies. The main movie that I'm interested in right now is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Comes out in December. You saw both of the Sonic movies, right?
Yes.
And you know that Sonic is one of my favorite franchises.
Yes.
Right? Do you remember what you did that got me into Sonic the Hedgehog?
No, I do not.
For one of my earlier birthdays, or around one of my earlier birthdays, you bought me a video game called Sonic Heroes.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Yes.
And I think that there was
You played it incessantly.
I still do. And 20 years later... Don't blame me, though. That game is awesome. And the music is to die for. That was my introduction to Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's like my third favorite game of all time. And yes, I compartmentalize.
And your second favorite is?
Twisted Metal 2012.
And your favorite is?
Devil May Cry 5. I compartmentalize and rank everything that I have an interest in. It's just...
Yes, I'm aware.
I like to keep track of where I position things. Does that...
And what's my favorite genre talking about movies?
I don't know. I have never seen you play Jenga.
Genre.
Your favorite is Lord of the Rings.
But that's my favorite movie, but what is my favorite type of movies?
Horror movies.
Yes.
Yes.
Not hack 'em, slash 'em.
No, I agree with you there. I do not understand the hype or the intrigue of like.
All I do is grunt and cut 'em up, slash 'em up.
Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy is a little interesting because he actually
because
speaks.
He comes through your dreams and makes it a reality. That's a different concept.
That's scarier. Plus,
yeah.
He actually talks.
But movies like Insidious. And like The Messengers and like The Conjuring, the Annabelle movies. I mean, that's just...
What's your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie is The Conjuring.
You know what mine is, right?
Paranormal Activity.
That's one of my favorites. What is my favorite? We saw it recently.
The Bye-Bye Man.
No. That is an absolutely horrible, awful,
no,
poorly directed, poorly acted...
No.
Pile of garbage.
No.
That my mom likes for some reason.
Disagree. Okay.
But my favorite horror movie is The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, yeah.
That movie is so good. We watched it, and what did you think of it? From what you remember.
I don't know. I don't know really what I thought about it. It's just...
The main actress...
I don't really know how to put it into words.
The main actress, Jennifer Carpenter, she made that movie. She was so good.
There are some people that are like absolutely perfect for their roles.
She is. I have no idea what else she's been in, but that's like a career-defining role right there.
Well, like nobody else could play Jack Sparrow but Johnny Depp.
Yeah, or no one else could be Tony Stark but Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, yeah.
No one else could be Wolverine except Hugh Jackman, the huge jacked man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And nobody, I don't care what anybody says, is Superman other than Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve is good as Superman, but I like Henry Cavill. I think he's a good modern interpretation.
Yes.
Of him. But anyway, we were talking about Sonic. What have your, since you know me and how crazy I am.
Yes.
How much have you gleaned, or what do you know about the Sonic franchise? And what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I would definitely prefer Sonic over other things that youth or young adults are into. I would much prefer G-rated than...
Are you saying you would rather me be addicted to Sonic than addicted to meth?
Absolutely.
Both make you feel like you're going really fast.
And you would know this how?
Hearsay evidence.
Hearsay evidence.
Yes. Okay. I hear them say things.
You hear who do you hear say things now? I'm really
the internet.
The voices.
The internet.
Oh, okay.
The voices on my computer screen.
The voices on your computer screen.
Yes.
Not the ones in your head.
No. Okay. They also discourage me from meth. They're like, not even we want to deal with that.
Yes. Okay. Good boy.
Your intestines are also our intestines, so treat them kindly, please.
Yes. Yes.
But anyway,
meth does not do a body good.
But Sonic does. Gotta go fast. You know what Sonic would say about meth? About using meth? That's no good.
This is correct.
That's a popular quote. Oh, we are going to take a quick recess. Mom has got to go fast to the bathroom real quick, so we're pausing. And we're back.
And it really wasn't necessary for Joshua to tell you what I had to do.
I fundamentally, vehemently disagree.
Well, you're wrong.
So anyway, we were talking about the blue blur. So continue telling me about your thoughts on the Sonic franchise and me being a lunatic about it.
Well, you have always... You don't like things, you become obsessed with things.
This is true. I do have...
Even from a young age.
I do have an obsessive personality.
Yes. I mean, when it comes to video games, movies, shows, music, you've been that way ever since you were a little kid.
I don't just watch. I like to find out every morsel of information.
Yes, he's the only person that I know that does not want to skip the documentary part of movies. So, but you've always liked Sonic. It's always been fun and exciting. And
who is my favorite character?
Shadow.
You
always like the villain.
He's not a villain. He's an anti-hero.
Okay, you always like the anti-hero.
Eggman is the villain.
Because one of your favorites is Vegeta.
Yep.
Who is also
an
anti-hero. And
I like Eren. My favorite Attack on Titan character is Eren Yeager, specifically when he becomes more of an anti-hero.
And you like the Joker, who is the bad guy.
He is not an anti-hero. He is a straight up villain.
He's a villain. So
does that concern you?
No, because I know you, like we were talking about in the car.
Mm-hmm. I just find them to be more interesting.
We were talking about Marilyn Manson.
Yes.
In the car.
Yeah, my mom is not fond at all of my of my musical preferences.
I think that this is a good outlet to let people know that it's not necessarily the person, it's more the persona and the music that you enjoy, not necessarily the person that is Marilyn Manson or his beliefs.
That is certainly something that people need to, because every once in a while people will raise
Everybody assumes that it's evil and that you like something evil, and how can that be?
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, that's why it's good on things like this to get people to understand.
To elaborate.
It's not necessarily the person, it's the character.
And now Sean is...
the music.
Sean is continuously blowing up my phone, and I wish he would relax. But anyway, once again, I'm speaking to my mother.
Yeah, Sean. I'm calling you out, dude.
But anyway, but yeah, like, it is important, for one, just because you like someone, that doesn't mean you agree with everything they say. I don't agree with everything Marilyn Manson says and does. I just think he makes amazing music, and I think he is a creative genius.
And it's also important to note that a lot of the things that people think that they know about certain people, including Marilyn Manson, are not actually legitimate claims.
Yeah. Like, for example, there was a rumor going around that he looks similar when he was a kid to one of the lead actors or child actors on the Wonder Years. And people, like, hounded him about it, and some people still think that's the case, even though he has repeatedly said, no, I've never been on that show. I just kind of resemble him vaguely. But that's true of a lot of people.
People just come up with things or ideas or what they think they heard or saw, and then it spreads like wildfire, and the next thing you know, this is what everybody thinks they know about a particular person that's not necessarily true.
I am a devout Christian, and I'm also a teetotaler, and I am abstinent. I don't, like, my mom and I also don't want people thinking that, oh, he's converting to atheism or Satanism, or
right.
Which I'm not.
Because like you pointed out in the car, we were talking about Marilyn Manson, and then you brought up The Walking Dead. Because, I mean, I go to church, I brought my kids up in church, I have a relationship with God. I'm a Christian. I am not perfect by any means. But yeah, I love The Walking Dead.
A show where people are violently dismembered.
But you have to understand that these people are portraying a character.
It's not real.
So is Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
He's creating a persona.
Another bit of critique that I had on your critique of me was you not liking that I like Marilyn Manson is eerily similar to your mom not liking that you like Guns N' Roses, which is eerily similar to her mom not liking that she liked Elvis. So I just feel like that's like a generational thing. Like, one generation
But if you look at what you like, can you imagine what it's going to be that your kids like?
Exactly. That's going to be fun.
Like, my mom doesn't agree with me liking The Walking Dead. Just like I don't particularly care for some of the groups that you listen to, or video games.
Which is fine.
So, and on my behalf, there were things I did not let y'all watch or play until you were older.
No, it was not until I was like in
high school.
In late high school or like early college. I was not allowed.
I was very protective.
That's the term I used was strict.
Yes.
But for a long time I was not allowed to watch rated R movies, watch rated M video games. When I was like a toddler, I understood that completely. When I was more like in high school, I was like, okay, can we drop this now? But it's still, I do think you got a teeny bit carried away with it, a little bit. Like, I remember when I first started getting into Dragon Ball Z, when you would get the season sets DVDs for me, you would only let me watch an hour of Dragon Ball Z like a day. And then I'd have to turn it off and put it up.
Well, yes. But in my defense, your generation has gone completely insane with the amount of computer and video game time that they spend.
Yes.
We've lost how to communicate.
Exactly.
Kids don't go outside anymore.
Nope.
I mean, we didn't have all of this technology.
People literally do not know how to speak to each other.
They really don't. They don't. And a lot of it's got to do with the internet. In fact, there's a person that is your age, close to your age, and I'm not going to say who this person is, that actually said to me that the internet was the worst thing that ever happened to your generation.
I agree.
In my defense, when I was young is when video games first came out. Started with the Atari. Yes, we would play, but we would play for a while, and then we'd get up and go and do other things. And you want to raise your kids to be well-rounded. So although I want you to be able to learn and have access to information, that's great. But
Yes.
at the same time, I still
You
feel
want
like it
me
needs
to
to
be
be limited.
you want me to be a social creature, not a recluse.
Well, I still think that it should be limited.
And I agree.
Because the more and more time goes by, the younger and younger kids are that don't know how to do basic things.
There are signs, like I work at Pizza Hut. There are signs all over the inside of the store telling people, do not get on your phone. Because, like, the people there that are younger than me, that's all they do. Like, one of my coworkers literally got fussed at the other day for talking to a customer at the cash register while she was looking at TikTok. TikTok, by the way, of all the social media platforms, I think is the worst. It is like that and Twitter. Like, I deleted my Twitter account because it was depressing. There was nothing but constant negativity. And as soon as I deleted that app, my mental state improved because I was like, I can go look at something positive now instead of people just endlessly arguing.
Yes. And another thing about the internet is, although it's a wealth of information about things that can help you, it also is a wealth of information for how to do things that people don't need to be doing.
Yeah, like there's so much
making weapons,
making bombs,
making homemade weapons, and going and blowing something up. I mean,
like, and there are like illegal like crime syndicates and hackers and like the black market that's fully online.
Right.
Like,
and so that's one of the reasons why I limited y'all when you were growing up to how much of these things you had access to.
Like, when, for further context and clarification, when me and my brother were growing up, we were allowed to play a video game on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yes.
The weekdays, we were allowed 1 hour to play, 15 minutes to wrap it up. Saturday, we could play twice. For an hour, 15 minutes to turn it off. But if we misbehaved throughout the week, you would shorten it to Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And if we were really bad, it would just be Wednesday. If we were even worse than that, none at all.
And you were not allowed to play on Sunday.
Yeah. We were, or the days that you said that we were not allowed to play. Because again, I always understood why, to a degree. I didn't like it, because me wanted to have fun. Me fun, want to have fun, yes, please have fun. But again, and I have an appreciation for that, because there are a lot of parents out there who basically gave their parental duties over to the TV screen. And that is very, very lazy, and that is not how to parent. No. And that has given rise to this generation.
And one of the things also, you have these kids nowadays that don't know any boundaries because they're allowed to do anything they want.
I used to work at the Pizza Hut in Lexington, near where Andy lives. One of my coworkers was like almost 20 years old. She didn't know what the atmosphere was. Think about that. She knows what TikTok is, and she knows all the TikTok trends and all the Twitter trends. She doesn't know what the atmosphere is, though. Because during school, social media was like, oh, look, distraction.
Yes.
And
y'all's education was very important to me.
It was important to me as well.
And actually, you probably do not remember this because your memory only goes back so far. When you were in kindergarten, at that time, I did not work. I chose to stay home. And because of that, our income was cut drastically. So at the beginning of every school year, you had to fill out all of these forms where one was for free and reduced lunches. So you qualified for that because of our income. So a letter was sent home at some point during our kindergarten year, I don't remember, that basically, and I'm summarizing, basically said that you were not expected to have good grades because we were considered low income. And I was so angry because your income level has nothing to do with how your education, but whether I make $10 a year or $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million a year, I can sit down with my child and help them with their education. That plays no part, and that upset me very much.
I actually very vaguely remember that. I very vaguely remember. Did I hand you that paper?
Well, I mean, it came home in your stuff.
I remember you getting upset reading something when I was very little around that time. I don't remember the context from then, except for what you just told me, but I do remember handing you something and you getting really upset.
But see, that's the difference because kids now, that's all they do. They don't do homework or whatever or study. They come home and they automatically are on the computer, on their phone, on their laptop, on their whatever, and nobody makes them sit down and do their schoolwork, which I'll be honest with you, I completely disagree with homework. I
Yes.
completely disagree with homework.
Yeah.
You are a child and you have spent all day at school. Studying for a test is one thing. But having 3 hours of homework every evening when you get home to me is absurd.
You should do your work at the place where the work came from, also known as you should do your schoolwork at school.
Agreed.
And there should not be extra stuff. Again, like you said, studying is one thing.
Right. And see what would frustrate me a lot, and this happened more with your brother, he's probably going to kill me for saying this, is I would get frustrated because he would make a bad grade, or you would make a bad grade, or whoever would make a bad grade, and I would fuss, and the comment would be made back to me, well, that's the best I could do. Okay, that is completely untrue because when I get home until you go to bed, all I see you do is play video games. You can't sit there and tell me I couldn't do better.
Just a quick side tangent. I remember when I was in 6th grade, the first time I ever failed a test. It was a science or biology or whatever test, and I made a 69 on it. I failed by 1 point. I was so horrified to tell you about it. Like, I was crying when I got in the car, and I told you about it. And you did get upset. And I actually, when I got it, because what they would do is they would hand the test back to us, and we would have to grade it with a red pen. I tried to find a way to grade myself more beneficial, in a way that's more beneficial to my grade. I was trying to get around a 70-ish something. But my teacher saw what I was doing. She was like, no, don't do that. You have to grade honestly. And I got a 69, and I was like, my mom is going to be furious. And you were mad, but you were reasonable. You weren't like, you didn't like beat me with a baseball bat, but you were understandably upset with me.
My point was, though, you can't tell me that I never see you crack a book, and that's the best you can do. If a C or a D is honestly the best you could do, and I see you putting forth the effort, that's one thing. But when all you do is play video games, see that's an issue. And I think that's where technology is always supposed to be a positive thing. And in some ways it is. Medically speaking, technological advances are great. And when it comes to trying to cure disease, I mean, that's fine. That's fantastic. As far as education, or as far as there's all kind of fields where technology is great, but there's also a lot of ways where
a lot of drawbacks.
There's a lot of drawbacks.
And I agree. Like, I can't stand my own generation. It's not all their fault, but Gen Z is so dumb. They just can't function. It's not all their fault, but it's not all their fault, but also I'm in Gen Z, and I like to at least think that I can function. I can have a conversation with people without feeling the need to look at my phone every split second. Like, I have my issues, but I also feel like I'm a functioning human being. But also, back to the whole time limit on video games and stuff like that. Once I got to a certain age, you basically took off the requirements, and you were like, okay, you are now 18 or whatever.
You're old enough to be responsible for the decisions that you make.
And partly because I have so much stuff that I have to do outside of that. I have a job and all this other stuff. I don't just sit and play video games for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I don't abuse the freedom that I now have.
But also, once you graduated high school and you went on to college, I completely lifted restrictions.
And from your from what you could see, how do you think I handled that?
I think you handled that. I think you balanced it very well. Because, I mean, you did exceptional in college. You got your degree. And, I mean...
Mm-hmm. I met the love of my life.
Yes.
Once again, shout out to Andy. We love you. What did you think when I first introduced you to Andy? Oh my God. There's two Joshuas now. One is male, one is female. The apocalypse is nigh.
I love Andy to death. She's so funny and so sweet and so cute and adorable and polite and helpful and smart and
she's so bubbly and happy.
Yeah.
And there are some people that are like super bubbly and happy. It's annoying. Like you remember that character on Grey's Anatomy, Sydney? The super happy, annoying shipper one, or like Arizona, she's like super fake happy. Andy is like the genuine kind.
Yes.
That's not overbearing, but it's just pleasant.
Yes.
And I wish more people were that kind of bubbly than the overly enthusiastic. I want to literally spray you with a hose.
Most people nowadays are angry, selfish.
Yeah.
Sad, depressed, whatever, their tendencies lead more toward that. And it's because there's so much negative stuff that they see and hear all the time.
That's why I deleted Twitter. Because that's all I saw. And yeah, there's some negativity on like other ones like YouTube and Facebook. And I have Instagram.
But there's positive too.
But there are positives as well. Like I watch a lot of funny YouTube videos. I make videos that I think are funny. There's funny stuff on Facebook.
Sorry.
That was funny, Mom. You're contributing to the comedy of my content. Congratulations.
Thank you. Did I win a prize?
My love and admiration. And a hearty high five. But anyway, what are your plans for the future, Mother?
My plans?
Yeah.
The plan is for me and my sweetheart to get married. I have you and Alex, but you're already raised. He has 3 younger boys, 19, 17, and 11. Finish raising them and to work hard to get to a point in our life where we can spend time together and enjoy the later adult years of our life and have our kids around us. And
here's a question.
We don't necessarily have to have things to be content, but we'd like to be in a place where we're content with our things.
I should have asked this earlier because basically we are indulging in my hobby right now. My hobby is my YouTube channel. What are some of your hobbies? Some things that you like? Because again, I like playing video games. I like writing. I like making YouTube videos. What are some things you enjoy doing?
Some of the things that we enjoy doing, and I say we because a lot of times in my free time and we're on the weekends or whatever, we're doing stuff together. We like camping. We like hiking. We like kayaking.
It's funny.
We love going to the beach.
Yeah, I love the beach.
We travel a lot.
It's funny you mentioned like hiking and stuff like that. When you were my age, you would climb trees.
Oh yes.
You would skateboard.
Yes.
You were a tomboy.
Yes.
Would you say?
I played ball. I rode bikes. I climbed trees. I rode skateboards. Yes.
Do you remember the first time I tried to ride a skateboard? We were on that mission trip with our church.
No.
We were on a mission trip. I can't remember where.
It had to be Cherokee.
Yeah,
you were
I
5,
so.
and
Something
Alex
like
was
that.
2.
I tried to ride a skateboard, and I ended up with a huge gash on my ankle. That's probably the least surprising thing I've said during this podcast. Do you remember the first time I tried to ride a bike?
Yes, and you fell just like everybody does.
I didn't just fall.
Not get off on the bike again.
I didn't just fall. I slammed ear first against one of the wooden posts that hold up a fence, and my ear slid down it. I thought like I ripped my ear off. And it hurt. And to this day, I never learned how to ride a bike. Because if there's one part of my personality that might concern you, I am...
very stubborn.
I am insanely stubborn.
Yes, you are.
And
in fact, we were talking about 5 speeds. stick shifts, straight drives, whatever you want to call it. And we were talking about how kids don't know how to do that anymore. And I said, I could absolutely teach Alex to drive a straight drive. And the question was asked, what about Joshua? And I said, there's no way on God's green earth I would even attempt.
that
It's not that you couldn't do it, but there's just so many. It's just.
I'm not a multitasker.
It's not your forte. No.
Yeah. What would you say are some differences in me and Alex's personalities? Because I have him on the channel way more than you, and you can the way we interact with each other, we have a similar sense of humor, and I've actually described this to other people. I'm more chaotic and bombastic. He's more sharp-tongued and dry-witted. We have
I would agree.
We have similar humor. We
Yes.
just it's from
You just approach it differently.
we have very different approaches.
Yes.
And
you're like me. You're very loud and outspoken, and like a little rubber ball that you throw and it just bounces all over the walls. And Alex, he's not shy, and I wouldn't call him reserved, but you have to get him started.
Yeah.
And then it's on. But yeah, he's more of a smart aleck, and you're more comedic.
Yes. I'm more goofy. He's more, like you said, more of a smart aleck.
Yeah.
Which we would often call him, he's a smart Alex.
Yeah.
Because he's very appropriately named.
Yeah.
And, again, one thing I do think is, even though we have, a very sense of humor, very similar personalities, we also have very different beliefs on certain things. For example, it's not very nice of me. Sometimes I call him a trend whore, if you know what I mean.
That's not necessarily fair, because he decides what he likes and what he doesn't like. But for the most part, society as a whole tends to fall into a lump category. So you are really an exception to the rule, and you always have been, as far as you are more apt to not follow a trend, whereas most people follow a trend.
Would you say it's accurate to say that trends generally just annoy me?
Yes.
Although...
And you've always been that way.
And there are some people that actively just disagree with everything everyone says.
Sometimes it's infuriating, because sometimes you didn't like something solely for the reason that was the trend, which I disagree with. But there are some things that you didn't like, not just because it was a trend, but you had validity to, other than it's the trend.
I wouldn't say that that's the sole reason why. I would say that it being a trend did not help my view of it. It made my sour view even more sour. For example, like with The Walking Dead.
But there's not anything wrong with liking something or agreeing with something that a majority of the society...
That is true.
likes.
For example, my favorite show is Dragon Ball Z. That is
a wildly popular...
That is a wildly
anime.
popular anime. Literally, during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, you called me in there because they had a
Goku.
Which blew my mind. Almost made me cry.
The balloon blew your mind.
Yes, it ballooned my mind. But things like The Walking Dead, I just think that zombies are,
Well, I didn't get into it because it was a trend.
No. My thing is, I just don't like zombies in general, because I feel
Now, you did at one point, because you had to have World War Z.
That was I vaguely remember that. I remember wanting to see it, but then after I saw it, I was like, it was alright.
Warm Bodies.
Oh yeah, Warm Bodies. Okay, I'll explain that in a second. But me generally, I'm not super... I didn't always hate zombies. I just felt like it was a trope that was used a lot in movies. I saw it all the time.
But see, I didn't.
And I just got sick of it.
See, I didn't.
The reason why I liked Warm Bodies, and I still do, is because I hadn't seen zombies, but as a comedy. Because that's one of the first zombie things I watched that was played as a comedy. It wasn't serious. It was like a romantic comedy. I hadn't seen that before, so it was fresh to me, so I liked it more. The Walking Dead, to me, was more of the same.
Well, see, I had never really watched a lot of zombie things. I was just never really interested. And when The Walking Dead was so popular and everybody was talking about it, for a long time we still didn't watch it. And then when we did, we just happened to be at Walmart. They had the big thing of DVDs. They had The Walking Dead, and it was actually season 2. And it was like, okay, well, let's just get it and watch it and see what all the fuss is about. And so we watched season 2, and then I was like, you know what? Season 1 is not going to cost much, and it'll maybe help us kind of understand what's going on. So we got season 1, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, you fell madly in love with it.
Yeah.
But my thing was, for one, I wasn't interested. Like, I heard about it, and I just wasn't interested. Then I was like, oh, it's another zombie thing, and that just soured me on it because I didn't like the concept. But then, no one would shut up about it when I was in high school. That's all I heard about day in and day out, and it drove me insane. It wasn't that it was a trend, and oh, it's a trend, it must be bad. It's that I was constantly bombarded with it all the time, and it drove me crazy. And it made me actively despise it. One of my things,
Pet peeves.
one of my pet peeves, and anyone that knows me will confirm this. If there's something that I'm just like, about, if that thing gets insanely popular, and it's all people talk about, it will literally...
You want it to die.
It will drive me to despise it. Like Fortnite. The game Fortnite, I've played it before, it's fine. But no one would shut up about it. It was so bad that it was in the Avengers movie, it was in a Star Wars movie, and in the 2 Sonic movies, Sonic and Eggman do the stupid floss dance. Because Fortnite. It literally felt like it was invading every single area and avenue and aspect of my life, and I want
But that
medical
doesn't
treatment.
make it bad.
I didn't hate it. I hated the hype. That's what I hated. If people would just stop talking about it for 5 seconds, I would calm down. But it's just the relentless, never-ending Fortnite. I wanted to find a way to delete the game from the earth. Just so I can have a few minutes of peace. And right now, the phenomenon... I'm about to break Andy's heart. The phenomenon that is covering the globe, apparently, that it's like Fortnite and The Walking Dead all over again is Taylor Swift.
I love Andy.
But you do not like Taylor Swift.
I could care less about Taylor Swift.
She's fine. I don't...
I've heard some of her music. It's not...
It's not your thing.
No.
It's not my thing either. There are a couple songs from her that I think are okay, that I think are good, that I like. And I don't think that like her stuff is awful or bad. I think some of her stuff
I
is
don't
bad.
either. It's just not...
My problem is no one shuts up about her. It's all people talk about. And I love you, Andy. And I'm not saying that you annoy me about it. You don't talk about it all the time. You talk about it a lot, but you talk about it all the time. But a lot of people, like, and whenever I turn on a screen, she's like the first thing I see, and I'm like, there are other artists. Can we talk about them? Bad Omens is becoming popular. They're awesome. Can we talk about them? Black Veil Brides has been around forever. I like Marilyn Manson. I like Toby Mac. I like Cutlass. I like this. I like that. I like Poppy. Can we talk about them for like 5 minutes? And then we can go back to Taylor Swift for the next year? But again, that's just me saying that, like, it's not so much the trend that annoys me. It's when the trend is, like, the only thing people talk about. It's maddening. It literally makes my head hurt. And it makes my blood boil. Because I just feel like I'm being punished for not being in on it.
It's like you're being forced.
Yes. It's like I'm not allowed to dislike it. And that attitude instantly turns me against it. It instantly infuriates me. Because...
And that's understandable.
I don't mind people having a different opinion than me. What bothers me is when people try to not let me have my opinion because they don't like it.
Right.
That I have a serious problem with, and I've always had a serious problem with. Like, I used to have problems growing up with people disagreeing with me, but that's part of growing up. Now, it's not so much a difference of opinion. Don't force your opinion on me.
Right.
Don't tell me I'm stupid because I feel this way.
Right.
That I can't tolerate. I have zero tolerance for that.
You can't tell me that I'm wrong because I don't like the same thing you like. It's like my brother. I love you, Doug. But if it's something that he likes and you don't, you're wrong. If it's something you like and he doesn't, you're still wrong.
Yeah. And I just...
And I disagree with that.
The amount of times he called Dragon Ball Z Dork Ball Z, I'm just like, dude, really? But anyway. So, we've been chatting for an hour, Mom. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, but...
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
Feeling it now.
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
I'm feeling it now.
Do you feel like a total barnacle head?
Now, I'm looking at a total barnacle head.
Indeed you are, but... Well, I think that concludes this interview, I guess. Thank you, Mom, for being on my show.
You're welcome. I love you dearly.
I love you very much, Mom. I'm going to leave you alone now. I'm going to go record my wrestling show that will already be up by the time
Goodbye,
this airs.
everybody. Hope you enjoyed our little chat. We'll have another one, I'm sure.
I hope so. Thank you guys for watching, all you barnacle heads out there.
Or for listening, rather.
If you watch or listen to my YouTube channel, odds are you are a barnacle head.
That's right.
And
And like and subscribe.
This is a barnacle head friendly zone. We do not discriminate against barnacle heads.
True.
We discriminate against non-barnacle heads.
That's true.
They aren't people and shouldn't vote.
That's right. They don't have a say.
That took a turn. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening, like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys later.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Barnacle head.